distant sounds, which stood out against the background of silence that did not absorb them, and which, in all probability, came from the gardens spread out at the other end of the town, were perceived to such an extent finished in each of their semitones that it seemed as if the impression of distance depended only on their pianissimo, like those motifs that the orchestra of the conservatory so masterfully performs on mute. Not a single note is lost, and the listeners get the impression that they sound somewhere far from the concert hall, and old subscribers, in particular, grandmother's sisters, when Swann gave up his place to them, they pricked their ears, as if listening to the distant footsteps of marching soldiers who had not yet turned into the street of Treviso. Knowing my parents, I was aware that my undertaking could have the most serious consequences for me, much more serious than an outsider could expect, such that, according to his concepts, could only entail something really bad. With the upbringing that I received, the degree of importance of actions was determined differently than in other children. I was taught to enroll in the category of the biggest offenses, probably because I had to be especially carefully protected from them. There's that. Like this, it became clear to me only now that we usually do it under the influence of nervous excitement. But then this expression was not used in my presence. I was not pointed out the origin of this kind of actions, otherwise I could conclude that it is excusable or that I cannot cope with it. However, I easily distinguished these offenses by the anguish that preceded them, and by the severity of the punishment that followed them, and now I realized that the offense that I had committed belonged to the category of those for which I was severely punished, but only much more important. If I go out to meet my mother when she goes up to her bedroom, and she sees that I got up to once again wish her good night in the corridor, they will not leave me at home anymore. They will send me to college tomorrow. I was in this sure. Well, even if I had to throw myself out the window in 5 minutes, even that would not have stopped me. I had one desire, to see my mother, to wish her good night. I went too far in this desire of mine. It was too late to retreat. I heard the steps of my relatives, who were seeing Swann off. And as soon as the bell at the gate let me know that Swann was gone, I made my way to the window. Mum asked Dad if the lobster was good and if Swann asked him to give him coffee and pistachio ice cream. I didn't like it very much, said the mother. Next time, I'll have to do something different. And how Swann has changed! Exclaimed my great-aunt. He's quite an old man. Swann still seemed to her a youngster, and suddenly she was surprised to find that he was far from being so young. However, all my relatives noted Swann's abnormal, early, shameful old age and believed that he deserved it, like all bachelors, for whom a long today, which does not have its own tomorrow, lasts longer than for others, because they have it is not filled with anything. The moments in the morning are counted one to another, not being distributed among the children. Probably, his bastard wife spoiled a lot of blood for him. After all, in front of the whole Combray, she lives with some kind of Charles. This is the talk of the town. His mother objected that Swann had clearly cheered up lately, and now he doesn't rub his eyes and rub his forehead so often. This was a characteristic gesture of his father. I think he fell out of love with his wife. Of course, I fell out of love, said grandfather. I received a letter from him about this a long time ago. Then I did not attach much importance to it, but it leaves no doubt about his feelings for his wife, in any case, his love for her. Yes, well, why didn't you thank him for the estate? Grandpa turned to his sisters-in-law. How did you not say thank you? If it comes to that, in my opinion, did it quite subtly. Grandmother Flora objected.